Peace be upon you. This is a magnificent, beautiful story that took place over 60 years ago in a village called Al-Hardana, located in northern Aleppo. The people of this village still whisper this tale to this day because it is a profound lesson in fate and destiny. The story begins with a man named Ali. Ali was married, and by God's will, all of his children were daughters. 9 beautiful girls, each one more stunning than the last. But Ali, living in a rural agricultural community, carried a deep, burning sadness because he did not have a son. You see, back then, rural families heavily relied on sons to help with the demanding physical labor in the fields. Even though daughters played a vital role in harvesting, selling, and carrying the heavy loads, Ali desperately wanted a son to carry on his name and to be responsible for his sisters. In contrast, his brother Mustafa lived a perfectly normal, stable life, blessed with 3 sons and 4 daughters. After his 9th daughter was born, Ali completely snapped and said, "I must marry again. Perhaps the issue is not with me, but with my wife." In those days, a traditional practice known as shihar marriage, or exchange marriage, was highly prevalent. It was essentially a head-for-a-head trade. You marry my daughter or sister, and I will marry yours. No dowry, no financial security, nothing. Even though this type of marriage is strictly forbidden in Islam because it completely oppresses the woman, Ali didn't care. Every time one of his beautiful daughters reached marriageable age, he would barter her away to a suitor on the condition that he could marry one of the suitor's female relatives in exchange. Sa'i, the pillars of honor. This is where our hero steps in. Mustafa's eldest son, Sa'i. Sa'i was a man in every sense of the word. He was tall, powerfully built, deeply respected, and absolutely adored by the entire village. Sa'i strongly opposed his uncle Ali's actions of trading his daughters like livestock. He would constantly confront him, shouting, "Uncle, what you are doing is forbidden. You are cheapening your own daughters, forcing them into marriages they don't want, just so you can get another wife for yourself." Eventually, Ali married off 4 of his daughters this way, leaving 5 at home. The 4th daughter was named Huda. Huda was sought after by a very poor, simple shepherd named Reda. Ali only agreed to the marriage because Reda traded his own sister to Ali. Despite her breathtaking, legendary beauty, Huda was robust and possessed incredible stamina. She could work all day and night in the fields, doing the workload of 3 women combined. Years passed, and Ali finally passed away after his last exchange wife finally gave him sons. And shortly after, his brother Mustafa passed away too. Who was left to carry the heavy burden of these 2 large families? Saeed. He became a father figure to everyone, protecting his sisters and cousins. Whenever any of his female cousins faced a marital dispute and left her husband's house in anger, she would flee straight to Saeed for shelter and protection. The malice of Badr. Let us return to Huda. She lived a peaceful life with her shepherd husband despite a 27-year age gap, and they had 3 sons and a daughter. But destiny is unpredictable, and the shepherd suddenly passed away, leaving Huda a widow with very young children. With no parents or uncles left, she approached Saeed and said, "I have no one left, and I am terrified of living alone with my children. I want to move close to you." Saeed welcomed her warmly, rented her an apartment next to his, and promised, "You and your sisters are under my protection until the day I die." Once Huda completed her Islamic waiting period, suitors began flooding Saeed's house. Everyone wanted her because she was stunning, an incredible homemaker, and a tireless worker. But Saeed wasn't like her late father. Whenever a wealthy suitor approached, Saeed would look at them and say, "Her dowry is $100,000. If you can't afford it, walk away. She is not a piece of furniture you can buy. She is a mother, and I will secure her future." One day, a powerful and enormously wealthy merchant named Badri approached. Badri owned vast lands, farms, and warehouses. He was already married with children, but he had become completely infatuated with Huda's beauty. He went to Saeed to demand her hand. Saeed consulted Huda but warned her, "Badr is wealthy, but I do not trust him. He is reckless, and because of his money he thinks he can buy anything. His first wife will make your life a living hell, Huda replied. The decision is yours, my cousin. If you don't trust him, I don't want him either. Saeed went back to Badr and told him. There is no match here. Badr lost his temper and shouted, Why? You are not even her father or her brother. Saeed replied with cold authority. The woman rejected you. If you don't like it, go bang your head against a wall. Badr left humiliated, his heart overflowing with venom because his wealth couldn't buy her. To make matters worse for his pride, a very poor, simple laborer who worked on the farms named Hussam proposed to Huda. Saeed saw that Hussam was a pious, honorable man who would fear God in how he treated her. Huda agreed, and they were happily married. When Badr heard the news, he completely lost his mind. They rejected me for a penniless peasant like Hussam? By God, I will destroy them. Badr began using his immense wealth to spread vile rumors through hired gossips, claiming that Huda was having an illicit affair with her cousin Saeed. However, the villagers flatly rejected the lies, knowing Saeed's flawless honor. Seeing that the rumors failed, Badr turned to economic strangulation. Because he was a powerful merchant, he pressured all the local landowners to blacklist Hussam. Whenever Hussam found a job, Badr would call the owner and demand he be fired. Hussam lost all means of making a living in the village and was forced to travel to distant cities for months at a time just to bring home a crust of bread for Huda and the kids. Through it all, Huda remained fiercely loyal, while Badr watched from afar, waiting for them to break the diabolical trap and arrest. 5 years of this living hell passed. One day, Hussam returned home exhausted from manual labor, went to sleep, and never woke up. It was a sudden, natural death. Badr saw this and thought, This is my golden opportunity. He waited for her waiting period to end and proposed again. Saeed, knowing Badr's past wickedness, stood his ground and roared, Even if you were the last man on earth, you will never have her. I know you cut off Hussam's livelihood, and if I had legal proof, I would have killed you myself. Get out! Badr then devised a truly diabolical plan. He approached Hussam's grieving, simple family and began whispering poison. Your son didn't die a natural death. Huda poisoned him. He manipulated their grief until they believed him. Badr hired the most ruthless lawyer, heavily bribed the forensic doctors and investigators, and completely fabricated a medical report claiming there was suspicion of poison. The grave was exhumed, the forged report was submitted, and innocent Huda was arrested. The judge, bound by the falsified evidence, sentenced her to 4 years in prison. Huda wept bitterly, screaming in the courtroom, I am innocent. I swear to God I have never harmed a soul. Saeed was devastated. Enraged by the injustice, he went to Hussam's family and beat them severely, then tracked down Badr and brutalized him so badly that Badr nearly died. Saeed was arrested and jailed for 6 months before being released on bail. The oppressed woman's curse. While Huda was in prison, Badr used his influence to visit her purely to gloat. Huda glared at him and asked, Why are you here? Badr laughed with disgusting arrogance. I came to look at you. You rejected me for that peasant. Look where you are now. And let me tell you, even when you get out, I will be waiting. I will make your life a living hell until you regret the day you were born. No one makes a laughingstock out of me. At that moment, the sheer weight of the injustice crashed down on Huda. She realized he was the architect of all her misery. Looking him dead in the eye, she delivered a curse that shook the heavens. She screamed, Go, Badr! God sees my oppression. I pray to the Almighty that your household is struck by 3 things: a roadside death, a drowning, and a raging fire. May God execute his justice upon you. She turned her back on him and walked away. The turning of the wheels of destiny. Huda was released after 2.5 years for exemplary behavior. Saeed immediately took her, her children, and the entire family, sold everything, and moved them to a distant city to start over. But back in the village, The entire community watched in absolute awe as Huda's curse began to unfold against Badr's family. Badr had 3 sons and a daughter. The roadside death. On the night of his eldest son's wedding, during the celebratory car procession, a group of reckless drivers performing stunts lost control and crashed violently into the groom's car. The car flipped, instantly killing Badr's eldest son and his new bride on their wedding night. The village began to whisper, "The first arrow has struck. A roadside death, the drowning." 2 years later, Badr's middle son was working on the farm. He slipped and fell deep into the agricultural well, drowning in total darkness before anyone realized he was missing. The villagers were terrified, saying, "Only the youngest son is left. He will surely die by fire to complete the curse." Badr was consumed by absolute terror. He lived in constant paranoia, terrified for his last remaining son. The villagers begged him, "Go find Huda and beg for her forgiveness. God answers the prayer of the oppressed." But his colossal pride refused. Desperate to protect his son from the curse, he gave him a massive amount of cash and told him, "Flee to Libya, open a welding shop there and stay away from this cursed land." The raging fire. The son fled to Libya and opened a blacksmith workshop. One day, a massive, empty oil tanker truck was brought to his shop for welding repairs. An empty fuel tanker is actually a ticking time bomb because it is packed with highly volatile petroleum gases. One of the laborers forgot to vent the gas. The moment the torch was ignited and touched the metal, boom! The tanker exploded into a catastrophic inferno, consuming the workshop, the vehicles, and instantly killing Badr's youngest son in a raging fire. He had crossed seas to escape his fate, only to run straight into it. The final judgment. When the news reached Badr, he collapsed entirely. He was a broken shell of a man. He dragged himself to the city, begged Said for mercy, and desperately asked to see Huda just to beg for her forgiveness. Seeing his pitiful, ruined state, Said finally allowed it. Badr threw himself at Huda's feet, weeping bitterly. "Forgive me. Please, I beg you, forgive me. God has punished me and taken all my sons." Huda looked down at him with cold, unshakable dignity and said, "By God, Badr, if you had murdered one of my own children, I might have found it in my heart to forgive you. But you attacked my honor, you framed me for murder, and you threw me into a prison cell unjustly. I will never forgive you in this life. You will face me in front of the Almighty on the day of judgment, and I pray to God that you live to see the day where you cannot find a single soul to offer you a crust of bread." She turned around and locked her door. Time passed. Badr's remaining daughter married and moved away, leaving him completely alone in his massive house. He fell gravely ill and died inside his home. No one checked on him, no one brought him water, and no one gave him a piece of bread. His body was only discovered a week later when the neighbors noticed the smell. He died completely abandoned. As the famous Arabic poem goes, "Do you mock the prayer and underestimate it, unknowing of what the arrow of prayer can do? The arrows of the night never miss their mark. They have a set term, and every term must reach its end."